All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello. I know. Thank you. There's nothing like rolling recorded applause to buoy my mood. Let's face it, these are tough times, friends. You gotta get it where you can. You gotta medicate when you can. And my medication is adulation. You better believe it. Even if it's recorded, God damn it. It's great to have everybody here. We are on the air just a second or two late. Sorry about that. I'm sorry to say this, but Tony, it's your turn to be blamed.
Thanks, Tony.
And I'm going to blame you.
Thanks, Tony.
Even though a true investigation would likely reveal that you're not to blame. As you know, in the new America, we don't do true investigations anymore. We don't do actual investigating. We just make pronouncements. That's right. And I pronounce you as the blameworthy party in all of this. So Kim is here as well.
Kim, how are you?
And I'm excited about being here as well.
I blame you.
Yeah, I'm someone with a plan, and you're going to like it. Yeah, I'll give you a little on Epstein. The Mad King having a cabinet meeting as we speak. And also, you cannot look at the last election without some serious questions. Donald Trump ran the swing states. It was an amazing thing. It was incredible. I mean, it was literally incredible in the sense that you incredibled it. It was not credible. I will talk to Greg Palast, bottom of the hour, and Greg has done great journalism, particularly as it regards the disenfranchisement of voters. And his movie it points this up so beautifully, particularly in Georgia, but also in swing states. Greg can speak to the statistics, which are damning, meaning you only need to disenfranchise a very small number of voters in order to have a dramatic effect on the outcome of an election. So we'll talk to Greg bottom of this hour, as I say, bottom of the first hour, and we'll learn more. There's his movie, Vigilantes, Inc., and I'm sure Greg will mention it a few times. And I mean, he worked really hard on it, so I think he deserves to mention it a few times. And we'll look forward to that conversation. Jefferson Graham is here as we begin Amazon sale days. It's a 4-day thing this year. I don't know if you're aware of that, Kim. It used to be a 2-day thing.
Oh.
Now it's a 4-day thing. Look, in the Bible, it says 2 days. But now, somehow, there's a perversion of the Lord's word, and it's 4 days. Now, I don't know how they do that. I mean, I know this is it's an interpretive document, but
this is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Yeah, he's not happy, but he is getting some new big screen TVs, which you can get at a major discount during the Amazon Prime days.
Speaking of Amazon Prime days, did you know that it's their busiest time? I mean, they're really busy, Mark. They're so busy, as a matter of fact, that they're asking some of their employees to volunteer their time. No, I'm not kidding. The corporate employees of Amazon were asked yesterday to volunteer their time to the company's warehouses to assist with grocery delivery because they're so busy. So they're calling
for the company.
For corporate volunteers to help us out with Prime Day to deliver customers on our biggest days yet.
The same company that won't give you a bathroom break wants you to help out.
I mean, you're going to volunteer your time for the richest guy on the planet? Sure, go ahead. Volunteer.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to be rich. There's another thing, like when the employees are, they're literally work to the point of exhaustion, and then they are denied all of these additional things that might be associated with collective bargaining, with unionization, there's some pretty brutal, from what we understand, there's some pretty brutal. The New York Times did a huge piece on this. I want to say it was about 2 years ago. It was a cover piece in their magazine. It was a real takedown of the life of an Amazon worker. And you realize, as you say, richest man, successful company, why you can't throw a bone to many of these people who are, working their asses off to make you that money. I don't understand it, but it's funny that you're asking for volunteers on this busy period. So,
I mean, just to prove I'm not making this up, how crazy is that?
Oh, that is why Amazon asked corporate workers to volunteer help with grocery deliveries as Prime Day frenzy approaches. This is a headline that Kim is talking about.
Yeah.
Wow. I've interviewed at Amazon, says Mark Petrie, 3 times for cybersecurity roles. That's in Amazon Web Services, AWS. Each time I bailed. No, thank you. It is a terrific place to, it's a terrible place to work, he says. I guess it is. I don't know. It seems pretty terrible from the standpoint of the Amazon worker working in the fulfillment houses. That's all I've read about, but I don't know. And I know that none of them would come on here. So maybe ex-Amazon employees would offer a thought or two. But in any case, that's a little bit, I guess, of what's happening on this with Amazon. So on the Amazon sale days, to the degree that there is a deal or whatever, I guess Jefferson Graham is going to be talking about that. So let me just have a quick cup of the... Courtney will be along. I mention it because I'm drinking out of a mug that is a Mark Thompson Show mug. The website with the merch is something with a lot of new products and a lot of new fun stuff. And as I told you, we don't really make money on the this stuff. We have the site, the getmarkmerch.com site, and we have it under our YouTube videos simply because it's a fun thing. So if you want to participate in the fun, you can, but I don't want you to feel like you have to go there to support the show or anything. It just doesn't matter to us whether you get the merch or not. Although I love getting the, did I send the picture of the skull cap to you, Tony? Didn't I send you our merch makes some of the, no, I didn't send it to you. Oh, God, he really took that.
Thanks, Tony.
I meant to send it to you. Well, imagine a skull cap, Mark Thompson Show beanie.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, at in a lounge in an exotic place. So,
are you going to wear the skull cap?
I'm not a beanie guy. I'm not a beanie guy. I don't have a face for a beanie.
Easy for me.
But isn't it called a beanie?
Yeah.
That like knitted cap. It's like the wool cap that O.J. Simpson wore to slaughter those people.
Oh, well, that's nice.
No, remember it was the
only
same
he'd
kind.
worn a Mark Thompson
It's like a watchman's.
beanie.
It's like a watchman's cap. Yeah.
Also, what in the Northeast? It's like a toque or something like that.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Like
Anyway, look. This is starting to feel like a waste of time, and I don't mean to say
this is a classic Mark Thompson time waster.
I don't mean to say that I hate that. I love delays like this, but it's starting to feel a little labored, so I think we ought to get on with it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Probably as big a waste of time as Truth TV. Truth Plus.
Truth TV. I'm excited about it. It's Donald Trump, and as you know, if you've been a viewer of the show for any length of time, I think put on this earth to save us all. And when I say save us all, let me finish.
Can you let him finish?
Yes,
sir?
from reason and from purity of thought. He wants to bring back corruption and insider pay to play. And while doing it, he wants another propaganda machine. Fox News Channel isn't enough. I need propaganda on blast. And that's why I'm starting Truth Plus. This is the newest offering from Donald Trump. There's a full line of pundits and others who are part of this effort, Truth Plus. So Eric Bolling has gone over there?
Featuring Newsmax.
I see. These are Newsmax people.
It's a way for Newsmax apparently to increase its presence outside the United States.
I see. Because I was wondering, a lot of those people I thought are already on. Okay.
It's all streaming channels, on-demand video through the Truth Plus apps on all these different platforms.
So Truth Plus is essentially it's a middleman media play. So think of it. It's like I don't know if anybody saw this, but Amazon had a service called Freevee, Freevee. We could even talk to Jefferson Graham about this. And it was essentially what Trump is doing. It was a clearinghouse for a bunch of stuff that you could watch on individual streamers. But if you watch it through Freevee, I think it was called. I think it was that's what it was called. They got a cut, right, and then they can insert ads.
It had advertisements, but they're killing it.
Yeah, exactly. They're stopping it. That's the only reason it was top of mind. I think it's got 2 weeks to go. Lizard people, rulers of time and space, one of the main offerings and features in new Truth Plus menus.
I think the key is if you're looking for truth on Truth Plus, you'll be sorely disappointed. The truth is lacking on Truth Plus.
I'd say that if you're the lizard people, though, that's a pretty solid plan to have both time and space. I mean, if you have time, no space, I think it leaves you short. I think if you're part of the lizard people crew, you want both time and space. So I at least I support that. I haven't watched the film yet.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Yeah. Tie them both up. All right, now
The Mark Thompson Show.
I do want to update also. I'm going to get to the Jefferey Epstein thing. I mean, it seems kind of comical. They made such a big deal out of the Jefferey Epstein thing, and now it's like nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. I did want to mention, though, before we get to that, the death toll, I guess, continues to mount in that Texas tragedy.
Yeah.
The flooding that took the lives of 27 campers and counselors, and I believe now there are 104 people, I think that's the number I saw, who've lost their lives in this devastation.
Horribly sad.
There are more than 20 state agencies responding to the flooding across Texas.
Update the numbers now. It's 108. Yeah.
And so, again, we've mentioned, as Tony shows you, I think Tony was one of the first guys to have the time lapse up yesterday that you then saw, I think, in a number of different places through the day. I saw it later in the evening news, etc. But the reason I mentioned the time lapse is it really did make it clear. I mean, this was a 5-minute period, and you can see here, Tony's showing it to you again, the banks of the river overflowing and then just completely engulfing everything close to the river. This is in 5 minutes. So this tremendous rainfall that produced this phenomenon, it was forecast. It was forecast by the National Weather Service, and the National Weather Service had hired on overtime additional staffing because of the anticipated severe weather. But as pointed out yesterday by Kim, the cuts at the federal level at the National Weather Service, while not affecting this specific situation because they covered by hiring those additional forecasters, and I say hiring, meaning calling in those additional forecasters for this period of time when they were expecting the severe weather, there were other positions associated with getting the information out. Those positions were eliminated. They were eliminated in all the DOJ cuts and in the dismantling of the federal government that the Trump administration has been pursuing. So, yeah, the forecast was right, but the ability to get the forecast to many was hampered because of the lack of manpower, because of the elimination of those positions. They also, was it 3 years ago? Maybe it was longer ago than that. They were told, I think it was longer ago than that, they were told you need some kind of alarm system, siren system, akin to what they have on Tornado Alley, where they can, if they see flash flooding is imminent, can sound that siren, and that will clear that area, which is flood prone. It's in a floodplain. And they decided it was too expensive. And so they decided against it.
That wasn't the federal government that decided that. That was the community that decided they didn't want to spend the money.
That's right.
So that, can't blame that on the Trump administration. But I think it's interesting that Ted Cruz, who was in Greece at the time of crisis, that he could have known this was going to happen, but he never seems to be around when bad things happen in Texas.
Yeah,
it was obviously a mistake. In hindsight, I wouldn't have done it.
No, that was not this time. That was the last time. That was when he went to Cancun.
Right, Cancun.
Because the weather was bad in Texas. It was cold.
Hey, look, we don't have school. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here is Ted Cruz talking about things when he knows the emphasis shouldn't be on politicizing things. He always talks about let's not politicize things at a time of tragedy, right? Here he is. This is Ted Cruz.
Right now, everyone is horrified watching the wildfires that are devastating Los
Let me
Angeles.
just be clear about this. Stop for 1 second. Ted Cruz, who right now, as people are questioning the situation in Texas, he's the Texas senator, of course, and these cutbacks to which Kim has referred, and we've referred here on the show, that have affected the ability of the National Weather Service to get out warnings, watches, even forecasts in a timely way. They've taken a wrecking ball to NOAA, the National Association of National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. That's it. And they've taken a wrecking ball to the National Weather Service, as they have so much the rest of these government services that we pay so dearly for. This strikes me as a critical work, but they've nonetheless taken a wrecking ball to it. So I mention this because right now it's being talked about. These cutbacks, they all are relevant to the question as to loss of life. Could it have been avoided? These are very important questions. Cruz is saying, how can you talk about this stuff right now? This is no time to mention these kinds of things. You're politicizing this entire tragedy, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. This is Ted Cruz 6 months ago when California had its fires.
Thousands of homes and buildings destroyed, multiple people killed, 170,000 people evacuated, and the wildfires, they keep raging. In today's Verdict with Ted Cruz podcast, we break down the catastrophic policy decisions made by elected politicians in California, made by Governor Gavin Newsom, made by Mayor Karen Bass. Over and over again, they were told these decisions would increase the risks of devastating wildfires. Over and over again, they were told these decisions would make it much harder to fight these wildfires, and yet...
Okay, that's all I need to see. That Ted Cruz, of course, took the opportunity to exploit that tragedy for political means, political ends. And let me say this in defense of Ted Cruz in that spot. I think it very much appropriate to ask questions about how we ended up in a certain place where a tragedy unfolded and it cost a lot of lives or destruction of property. I think it's appropriate. I think it's appropriate to talk about gun policy when a bunch of kids are mowed down by someone with an automatic or semi-automatic rifle. These are the times you talk about it. So Cruz, back when he was talking about the fires in California, is right about a conversation associated with these things. I'm not saying he's right about policy that he's weighing in on. I don't know. But it's certainly not an inappropriate time to talk about it. With sensitivity, one needs to look at how you end up in a place. But similarly, it's very reasonable to talk about what's going on in Texas. It must be deemed reasonable to do so as well. And so when we talk about the lack of a warning system, Kim talks about the personnel issues. I think these are fair things to bring up. So Ted Cruz, again, back from Greece, though, now, and he's in Texas.
He said, told Fox News that something went wrong when the camp wasn't warned of the flood. So Ted Cruz is saying that something went wrong when the camp wasn't warned of the flood as well. He said the fact that you have girls asleep in their cabins when the flood waters are rising, something went wrong there. We've got to fix that and have a better system of warning to get kids out of harm's way. So
there it is. Yeah, he recognizes it. President Trump is saying that Bolsonaro, who's on trial for engineering a coup, he's the far right leader in Brazil. Trump is saying he is not guilty of anything.
No, of course.
Authoritarians got authoritarian together. Yeah. And Koosters got a coup together. So that was he literally is on trial in Brazil. And Trump is saying what Brazil is doing is crazy. So I don't know. Also in Trump land, if you saw the actual moment, so we'll share it with you. I think Tony's got the video. Do you have the video of President Netanyahu or Prime Minister Netanyahu offering Donald Trump the Nobel Prize?
God.
Nobel Prize nomination. He sends a letter saying that Trump should be nominated for the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, there's been peace for about an hour. And when I say peace, it's just a cessation of hostilities as the dust settles from a huge bomb that was dropped on at least one location in Iran. And there were obviously massive munitions dropped in 3 locations in Iran. I'm just struck by the fact that there was no lasting peace crafted here. And it is all just part of the ass kissery that has become a cornerstone of this administration and the way the rest of the world deals with Donald Trump, that he's nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And the Nobel Peace Prize, you could even say, has had some questionable recipients before. I mean, and Barack Obama was embarrassed about getting the Nobel Peace Prize. He knew that he wasn't really entitled to or deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize when it was offered to him. I'll give you an even more extreme example. Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, after the Vietnam War, after the peace deal was made, he was given Nobel Prize with, and he shared it with a North Vietnamese leader. And the crimes that you could, I think, argue defensively that Henry Kissinger was responsible for in Vietnam, they're war crimes. And in that way, you begin to reveal maybe the absurdity in some cases of these awards and these prizes, particularly the Nobel Peace Prize. It's so subjective. Here is a piece of video from that meeting with Netanyahu offering it to Donald Trump, offering the letter of the nomination.
Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much. Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, baby.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor.
I'm not much of a reader, but somebody look at this and tell me what it says. I'm sure it's Trump's view.
I'll just set this aside.
Right. Before I get to Greg Palast, I wanted to just see if there was anything around the horn that I will get to the Epstein situation in the second hour, and we'll detail some of those events that you may or may not recall. I did, in looking at everything, it was hard not to be struck by what a reversal particularly these Trumpies who were on a jihad to release details about the Epstein files. When they get into power, all of a sudden it's nothing to see here. So, I mean, I think that speaks volumes. But, and finally, was there anything from this morning's meeting before I get to, play a little bit of the cabinet meeting from this morning before Palast, and then we'll get to Greg. This isn't Bondi on Epstein, right, Tony? Go ahead, run a little bit. We'll see what this is. Go ahead.
In February, I did an interview on Fox.
Yeah, it is Bondi. I want to run this in the second hour. Let me run this in the second hour.
I was asked a question about
Tony.
the client list.
Yeah.
And my
Okay.
Yeah.
That's about the second. Okay. All right. Can we tune in, guys, please? Can we get up?
The Mark Thompson Show.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do.
I know. It's crazy. All right. We're going to do Epstein in the second hour. All right. I will get you well into Epstein. We'll be hip deep in Epstein. You will have your Epstein in the second hour. By the way, David K. Johnston, off this week. He'll be back next week. That is where a lot of people come here on Tuesdays for David K. Johnston. I hope many are coming here this day for this guy. He's a brilliant journalist. His investigative work on voter suppression, I think, is without peer, and his movie is a must-watch. Vigilantes, Inc. He'll tell you all the places you can see it. I think it's widely available. You can watch it on YouTube as well, I'm pretty sure. But it's terrific. And if you really want an insight into what's happening with U.S. elections, I think you really have to see it. Here he is, the great Greg Palast, everybody. Well, sir.
I'll be formal and button up.
Yeah, yeah, we got the memo on the black today. Greg, these are dark times for elections in America. I feel as though we're sliding the wrong way. The manipulation, the data manipulation, all of that, that's one issue, okay? And we've talked about that. I talked about it at length last week. Nathan Taylor's done a lot of work on that. The other issue, and it's, again, high art in some of these regions of the country where they just understand how to suppress the vote in new and different ways. That's the part that you so effectively lay out in Vigilantes, Inc. And I think it's the work that you continue to do because they continue to find new ways to suppress the vote.
Indeed. That's the trick. Look, they're stealing a 26th election right now. Understand, I know everyone wants to think that Musk has sent spiders from outer space to play with the machines. Okay, white people, wake up. That's not how you steal elections. You steal elections by suppressing the vote of people of color. There's two ways to win an election. Get people to vote for you. That's called democracy. The other is to stop your opponent's voters from voting. That's called vote suppression. And let me give you some numbers. If you go to gregpalast.com, it says Trump lost, vote suppression law, and here are the numbers. I was a professor of statistics, by the way, and I've testified about this in federal court for the ACLU, NAACP, and Rainbow Push. So this is what I do for a living, is do these numbers. And here's the deal. In 2023, before the election, there were 4.7 million people purged from the voter rolls, which were absolutely suspect. I'm not guessing. I hired some of the top people that work with Microsoft and American Express, who are specialists at addresses. And we found that 66.3% were actually legal voters, but overwhelmingly voters of color who were removed from the voter rolls wrongly. And if you watch Vigilantes, Inc., you won't just get a bunch of statistics and numbers. You get to meet some of these people. One is, I was at a Georgia polling station when, and it was storming. A woman in a walker going through the rain with her granddaughter to vote, and they throw her out. She'd been voting at the same place for 50 years in Georgia, and they took her off the voter rolls. They said she didn't live there anymore in Georgia. Well, I went to her house down the street, and there was a picture of Martin Luther King on the wall having dinner with her, which meant she's been in that house for 50 years. I said, "You knew King?" He says, "He was my cousin." So they removed Martin Luther King's 92-year-old cousin from the voter rolls.
It's a great moment in the movie, by the way. There are a few good,
There's
moments
a lot,
like that. Yeah.
And then you have the new gimmick, which I'm very concerned about. And this year is when they're purging the voter rolls. 440,000 voters are facing removal from the voter rolls in Georgia alone. Then you've got Wisconsin. Wisconsin's using a horrific system called ERIC, which I also investigated for Black Voters Matter Fund and the ACLU. And what we found is that this thing is phonier than a $3 bill. They use it. Almost all the people removed from the voter rolls in 23, and you're going to see it again this year, were Black people out of Milwaukee and students in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, what color are they? Blue. Okay.
But wait 1 second, Greg, because I would think Wisconsin, particularly with the Supreme Court in Wisconsin having been won by center-left candidate, having beaten back the right-wing candidate, and that was a highly publicized election, I would think they'd be in a disposition that would be anti-voter suppression, like they'd be against the kind of things that
but then you got to go to court. And, again, so what happens, they have an election board, which has stopped a lot of things, but there's all this GOP pressure. Remember, they control the legislature. Voting laws are passed by state legislatures, not by governors, not by courts. It's by the Republican legislature of Wisconsin, which is gunning for students, gunning for Black people. In fact, they have a voter ID law in Wisconsin, and you can use your gun license as ID to vote. You can't use your student ID to vote, even though the University of Wisconsin system with over 100,000 students You can imagine what their votes are, and they cannot use their ID. So where do they get ID? And now you've got a new thing. The SAVE Act, which was just passed in the House and already ordered into place by Donald Trump through executive order, which says you must prove your citizenship in order to vote. And you think, well, that's not so bad. Everyone should be a citizen to vote. Well, okay, listeners, viewers, where's your original birth certificate? I mean, your original birth certificate. No copies, please. Your original birth certificate or your passport. And I can tell you this. Only 1 in 3 Black people have a passport. Actually, only half of Americans in general have passports. Proof of citizenship is passport, original birth certificate, or naturalization papers. That's it, baby. And not your military ID. When they passed this law that you had to be a citizen to vote in Kansas, they removed 36,000 people. And Chris Kobach, the Purgeon general, Trump's buddy, went into federal court and said, we blocked 36,000 people who couldn't prove their citizenship. And then the court asked, were any of them non-citizens? He said, no, we checked. Not one of them, not a single one was a non-citizen, but they lost their right to vote, including Air Force officers, Black Air Force officers, of course, who didn't at the Lawrence military base have their have an original birth certificate with them.
This original birth certificate thing, Greg, it would affect so many Americans, as you say. I don't know that I can find my original birth certificate. I don't think I can.
Well,
so
think about this one. 69 million women, 69 million women in America change their last name on marriage. Good luck trying to vote. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to, it's for registration. So if you're registered and you don't move, it's fine. But about 34 million Americans move every year. So you have to re-register. When you re-register, you better, when you move, find that birth certificate, find that passport. Otherwise, you ain't voting.
What is the?
And they know who that is.
What is the policy solution to push back on this? To somehow throw a bone to the push for some kind of voter ID? The problem with voter ID is it's so associated with what you're talking about: voter suppression and trying to keep the Black vote in the South from showing up.
Or in the North. I mean, in Indiana. When the first, there wasn't a single state in America that required an ID to vote until 2008, when Obama was running. And the state of Indiana, hoping to stop Obama from winning, he did anyway, by the way, won Indiana. To stop Obama, they passed a law requiring voter ID. And 10 nuns went to vote, and they were denied the right to vote because they had driver's licenses, but the driver's licenses had expired because they were all in their 80s and 90s and didn't drive, these nuns. That went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, too bad. Indiana could do this, even though the state of Indiana admitted that in 100 years of record keeping, 100 years, they didn't find a single voter taking someone else's identity to vote, which is the issue.
Sure.
Not a single voter in 100 years, but we passed this law, and
it's a draconian solution in search of a problem. There is no problem.
Exactly, and they know who doesn't have access to their ID, who doesn't drive. Black people generally in Indiana, in Gary, Indiana, which is a northern tier of Indiana, is a huge Black community, a working class community. Those people don't have passports. They ain't going to France for their holidays. And a lot of them don't have driver's license. They use the bus system. It's urban. And so they know who they're excluding when they do these ID games. And when Democrats stupidly, idiotically go along with it, like Jimmy Carter, I call him the dangerous Christian. Nice guy, but he didn't know what the hell he was doing. And he went along with this ID stuff. And this is a real danger. And by the way, I have a lot of problems. There's a lot of rich people say, what's the big deal? Well, because your chauffeur could vouch for you, so you don't need ID. But I'm telling you, none of these evils could happen to some extent without Democratic.
Here it is. CC Ryder says Democrats still want to find reasons to give MAGA the benefit of the doubt on occasion. Stop this. They are cruel, greedy, corrupt, manipulative thugs. Don't ever give them the benefit of the doubt. But this actually predated MAGA. What's happening? I mean, this isn't all just MAGA. This is a system that's gone on for. I think this is what's interesting about your work, Greg. It's been refined and it's been accelerated and amplified through time, but it's been around since voting started.
Oh yeah, I mean, we started with the election of 1878 after the Civil War. The Democrat Tilden won. He won the popular vote and he won the electoral vote, but it was challenged by the GOP, and it came down. And what they did was they removed one of Tilden's electors and gave the election to the Republican in return for Democratic votes out of the South to end Reconstruction and end the military occupation of the South. And that was the birth of the Ku Klux Klan. So basically, we've been there before. And again, there is complicity by some Democrats, because remember, the Democrats were the party of Jim Crow. Republicans were the party of Lincoln and freedom. And that position has gone reversed, right? And so we've had this a long time, the black laws, but now we got new stuff. In fact, in 1946, the Klan came up with a plan where you have individuals, vigilantes, challenging the votes of every black person. That was 1946. That was shut down by the FBI. Now it's come back, and it's not being shut down by Kash Patel's FBI, where these Ku Klux Klan plan is being used by the Republican Party and Donald Trump to remove so-called illegal voters, including, if you'll see in my film, Major Gamaliel Turner. Here's one of the Pentagon's top experts, 70 years old. He's assigned to the military base in California, and Georgia would not give him a ballot. He's a Georgian. They wouldn't give this Major Turner his ballot because he was challenged by a Republican Party official, not a government official, but a Republican Party official who blocked his ballot, and 4,000 other soldiers out of Fort Benning. This is what the GOP is doing. They're attacking soldiers. Don't let them talk about patriotism when we love our veterans.
But listen to those numbers. Let them vote. I mean, I'm so astounded by the numbers in your work. Okay. You have reviewed. Yes. I mean, it's thousands of people being thrown off the voter rolls. It's one person, and you've talked about the ability of one person to throw off tens of thousands of people from the voter rolls. It sounds absurd, but it literally happens. You can see it in your film.
Yes, well, under Georgia law and many other states, Georgia law is explicit that one person can challenge as many voters as they want in their county. And you'll see in my film a woman, a Republican Party official. She works for Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she's not a government official. She personally challenged 32,000 voters. 32,000 voters. Thing. Yeah. And then she was heavily armed, and she chased me out of her house, so I wasn't able to finish that discussion. And then I meet with a guy who dresses like a vigilante, who's chairman of the Republican Party in Southern Georgia. And he's the guy who challenged 4,000 soldiers, most of them black soldiers, out of Fort Benning. And that guy, all those 4,000 soldiers lost their vote, except for Major Turner. They told him, all you have to do is fly in, come in and change your register, prove your citizenship. He says, wait a minute, I'm in California. You're telling me to come 2 days before an election, fly to Georgia, 2,700 miles to prove I'm a citizen again? This is a black veteran, not a veteran. He was active duty at the time. And his father was co-founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference with Martin Luther King. So they picked on the wrong guy. So he did fly 5,000 miles round trip. Yeah. He got his vote counted.
Yeah, but, to prove a point, he did it. But I mean, as you said, Kim is asking, since Vigilante's film has been released, and it has been released to, so widespread reaction, is there any movement to change the voter challenging system and protect voters, is the question.
Yes, I've gotten calls from some congressmen, and I don't know if you know who Bernie Sanders is. He's a senator, and he and Jesse Jackson and I got together, like, how do we take this on? And I would like to have more members of the Congressional White Caucus. I've talked to a lot, like Jonathan Jackson, Black Congress. So the Congressional Black Caucus is on top of this. Black Voters Matter, NAACP, but we really need, hey, my fellow white people, get off the Starlink monkey business and get on the vote suppression trail. And in fact, one of our new associates who's joined us she's working on a campaign to register people in jails because unless you're convicted of a felony, serving for a felony crime, you have the right to vote. There are close to 20 million ex-cons in America that could vote and don't know it. That would change everything. We have 9 million green card holders who could become citizens quickly. If you get green card holders registered, ex-cons registered, that'll change the political face of America. That you want to change something? Join that campaign. Start registering people and make sure that people check their registration so they don't show up and say, hey, you're out of luck. You're not on the voter rolls. 60 days before an election, you check your registration. If you don't come crying to me that you lost your vote.
That's good advice, regardless of what state you're voting in.
I want
to mention again, it's Vigilantes Inc. And you should check it out. Tell everybody it's. I want to say, I know originally you could only see it in a couple of places. Now I feel like you can see Vigilantes Inc. in a lot of places.
Yes. Well, what we did is we moved it to YouTube. So and remember, it's Vigilantes Inc., not just Vigilantes. It's Vigilantes Inc. Or just put in Palast Vigilantes, and you can get onto the YouTube site. We've had over 1/3 people watch it there, and about another 500,000 from other sites. You go to gregpalast.com. So YouTube or gregpalast.com, and you can stream it for free. Thank you, Jamie Foxx and Leonardo DiCaprio, for making that possible, who have been supporting our work. And
well, congratulations. I mean, it really is a terrific film. And as I say, even since you've released the film, there's even been more aggressive efforts to throw people off the voter rolls, and so I feel it's as timely as ever. I mean, it's crazy how like every hour they're finding new ways. The other thing, Greg, and then I want to get your impressions on the Epstein thing, because I know you know a lot about it. But the other thing that is laughable to me, and I made this point before on the show, that they would somehow suggest that as part of a Democratic plan to win elections, that they would open the border to bring in undocumented migrants such that they would then flood the voter rolls. That is the most ridiculous thing I could possibly conceive of. It's so ridiculous so as to not even demand a retort of any kind. Yet that is the position.
I spoke, the guy that is promoting this, Chris Kobach, who's the Attorney General of Kansas. And like I say, he's Trump's Purgeon General. He's the guy that Trump made his vote fraud czar. He is the center of this claim that there are zillions of, he said 5 million, and the Heritage Foundation's repeated that, the people from Project 2025. He said 5 million undocumented people, non-citizens, are on the voter rolls voting for Democrats. So I asked him, 5 million, and remember, they're registered. So you have their names, you got their addresses, you have their social security numbers. So you got 5 million people. Can you give me the names of 5? He couldn't. I said, can you give me the name of one? And I can tell you, when Florida started this purging the rolls of what they claimed were non-citizens, they got a whole bunch of Jose Garcias, and they found of 178,000 people that the state of Florida removed or tried to remove from the voter rolls. A lot of them were removed. They found one single alien voter, an Austrian Republican. It wasn't Arnold, but it was one out of 178,000. But they got they dropped a lot of Jose Garcias off those voter rolls. So this is what they're going to start doing now again with Trump's executive order. If you read the executive order, here's the fun line in it, that the DOJ administrator at that time, Mr. Musk, and now the only person in America who would be worse than Musk is Voight, who's now been put in charge, the guy who wrote Project 2025. And he will have access to all the state voter files. Can you imagine anything more dangerous?
He's a despicable guy from the standpoint of political philosophy, and as you say, one of the prime authors of Project 2025.
This is vicious, racist stuff, but they're not racist like emotionally. They probably have a lot of black friends. They just don't want black people to vote.
Yeah, it's a political power play, and it's got ugliness at its core. All right, I want to quickly ask you about something else.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Greg Palast, you are a distinguished investigative reporter, and you know something or two about the Epstein case. The Epstein case celebrated for both the lurid quality it had, of course, the heinous quality it had with, human trafficking and all that sort of thing. And then all the luminaries worldwide that were apparently associated with Jefferey Epstein and might have even been involved in Epstein Island, etc. Can you tell me what you know about the supposed suicide and his jailing, and what you can comment on this?
Well, I'd like to comment on this MAGA reaction. Look, Alex Jones, by the way, was a very good friend of mine when he was, by the way, a left-wing populist, and then he changed. Why? It's all about the money. So he's got a new money-making gimmick going. He's going to talk about, the cover-up and Pam Bondi. Well, Bondi played this game by saying, I have a list of Epstein's clients. Well, he wasn't running a brothel. He was a businessman, demi-billionaire. But here's a question I have. What did Donald Trump know, and when did he know it? The reason I ask this question is that if you are aware of a crime, even if you didn't commit it, there's no indication that Trump is into young ladies. He's into the supermodels, right? But when he was asked about all his associations with Epstein, he said, "Oh, he's into young girls," and then he winked and said, "Very young girls." So what did Donald know, and when did he know it? The reason I asked the question that way, for those of you who are old enough to remember Watergate, the reason why Richard Nixon was facing impeachment and had to resign was the simple question about the Watergate break-in. He didn't order the Watergate break-in. The question was, what did he know, and when did he know it? If you know of a rapist and someone who is enticing or threatening underage women, that's a crime. And if you know about it, you are now a co-conspirator committing that crime. Ask, by the way, the cardinal of the Catholic Church for Los Angeles, who covered up that his priests were involved in monkey business with underage people. He went to prison. You go to jail. If you know about these crimes, you go to prison. Do you really think Kash Patel is going to have this guy charged? I would like to know not who the clients were, but who knew what when. Let's not forget that Bill Gates' wife, Melinda Gates, divorced him after finding out he was messing around with Epstein.
Well, she divorced him. We don't know that's the reason. But,
that was right after that. So I don't think
the revelations that Gates spent time with Epstein. It's true.
That she thought that he was just having lunch there, but I don't know.
No.
But I don't know. The
No,
question
I
is,
agree.
why aren't they put under oath? Remember, 2019, Trump was president. Why didn't his FBI haul in everyone who knew Epstein, put them under oath, and say, what did you know, and when did you know it? And were you a participant? Put them under oath. Why didn't that happen under Donald Trump?
Yeah, there's a lot under this, and it seems as though it may be associated with those who had very strong relationships with Jefferey Epstein, and they're even there's a trail of breadcrumbs back to Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father was a Mossad operative, it's suggested, and so there's all of this international intrigue associated with this, and there's also just plain old, as I said at the beginning, lurid interest in this this sex machine that he set up in New York and overseas and on his island, etc. And apparently was all videoed, and it's a pretty twisted tale,
Well, what's nice about it for Trump, he started a tariff war again, which is going to tank the economy. So we're not talking about that. We're not talking about the big ugly bill. That's gone. We're not talking about losing your Medicaid. We're not talking about war with Iran. We're not talking about abandoning Ukraine. We're not talking about nothing. We're talking about young ladies and all this nonsense. So the distractor in chief has done it again.
Yeah,
he's done it again. We're not talking about those. That's why I appreciate you're starting out with the discussion of vote suppression. We do have to deal with the Epstein thing because it shows how this system is twisted and works for the rich,
and how it covers for how it covers
and how it's covering.
Yeah.
and who they're covering up for. So we do have to ask that question. But the right wing's theory that there's some type of list. Well, of course, they got that from the Attorney General of the United States, who said they had a list. But it's a nutty idea. It's a wrong distraction, and it's the wrong questions to be asking about this whole matter.
Yeah, I think on the list thing, just to button it out, you make such a good point. It wasn't a brothel per se, where you have a list of clients like the Heidi Fleiss thing when that busted open.
Yeah,
but you have, I guess, plain manifests and people who were there, but that doesn't prove that there was anything untoward going on. It proves that they're.
That's right. I mean, Noam Chomsky had lunch with.
Right. Right. Like
with
the lunch
Epstein.
that, Sam Giancana had with, somebody from the Kennedy administration or whatever. It's sort of like you can't prove anything just because they had lunch together. So,
yeah. And I think we have to be very cautious about that. But the question is why, so instead we have this nonsense distraction about lists and stuff like that.
You're saying that only plays into the distraction.
Yeah, exactly. And that's nonsense. And we are not talking about what's happening with this economy. We're not talking about the fact that some guy said he was going to bring down prices and inflation was going to end on day one. Instead, prices are going up, and the price of eggs is still $9 a dozen. And so they don't want to talk about that. They're going to want to talk about young ladies.
I leave you with this. B.A. Ware says, "How old is Greg? He looks great."
I just had my 73rd birthday.
Wow,
if that doesn't scare you.
Come on, kid. You look good.
Oh, you just woo.
All right, Greg Palast. Vigilantes Inc.'s available on YouTube. Also go to gregpalast.com for all of the latest. As I say, it's an unfolding story. There's way more. Greg does investigative work every day, and a lot of it finds its way to gregpalast.com. Thanks for stopping through, my friend.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
So much.
Greg Palast, everybody.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm excited to discuss even further some of the, I'll share with you some of the videos regarding this jihad that MAGA was on, as you know, associated with this Epstein list. Greg is right. I mean, the idea that there's a list usually is associated with, a madam who has a list of clients, this sort of thing. But names associated with Greg, with Jefferey Epstein, are something that MAGA world has really wanted to see for a long time. It's with great interest that MAGA world tunes in as they're told, we're going to release all of the Epstein files. We're going to release the Martin Luther King files, the JFK investigations. And you'll remember there was a big pronouncement, and they released MLK, Martin Luther King files on the assassination, and also JFK files on the assassination. But that release was basically a compilation of public information that was already out there. So again, it was all about the announcement. That's kind of what this administration likes to do. And the reality is there's no new information. Now, in the case of Epstein, you have the declaration that they are going to release these files. We'll release all of it when we get in. And now they are in. And now we're told, well, it'll be in 2 weeks, we'll be releasing the Epstein files, etc. And then it starts to happen that they get questions about when the list is coming out, when the information about Epstein is coming out, and little bits of information bubble to the surface associated with, for example, the death of Jefferey Epstein. I mean, here's this guy. It was a celebrated capture of this guy in the sense that he was involved in some pretty awful stuff, human trafficking, these underage women who were involved in all of this stuff that you felt was coercion, and also adjacent to some of the most powerful men on earth. And so the country, those who were interested in this, as I say, there were a lot of these kind of lurid aspects to it and also high profile aspects to it. The country took interest in the fact that this guy was apprehended and now he's being held in a cell. And he offs himself. He commits suicide. And that only creates more questions around what really happened, right? Because it's widely believed that he had no suicidal tendencies. He had no talk of suicide prior. In fact, while he was there in custody, I'm talking about in jail, and he was being held, he found a loophole in the way in which he could meet with attorneys or even members of his attorney's law firms. There were women coming through who weren't actually lawyers. They were, as I recall, legal paralegals, legal analysts who worked for the firm, and there were legal strategists, and they would meet with him for many, many hours. And the idea behind that was to get him out of the brutal conditions of having to share this cell with somebody else and this, pretty ugly situation in this holding tank or whatever this is, jail. And as long as he's meeting with his attorneys, he's there having these meetings. They would go on hours and hours and hours. So this is a guy, he wasn't really thinking in terms of, how am I going to off myself? He was thinking, it would seem, in terms of actions, in terms of how I'm going to kill the clock and get away with this again, because he'd already gotten away with it when he'd been charged in Palm Beach. You remember all of that. That was when he was really nailed once. Anyway, Jefferey Epstein, to cut to the end of the movie, commits suicide, and nobody believes it. No one believes it because of a lot of things that were happening adjacent to it. Isn't that right, Kim? I mean, the cameras that were supposed to be surveilling the area, they either malfunctioned, they were down to one camera, and then that one camera had some idiosyncrasy to it whereby it was on Tony's probably the guy who can really comment on this accurately. But what was the story, Tony? The one camera that was supposed to surveil that area, it was on a 24-hour recharge type thing. Isn't that right?
Essentially, it just writes over itself. If it's like other software, depending on how old the software is, because again, corporate stuff and things run forever. But I'm guessing it needs that 1 minute to like rebuffer and to start over again, essentially, to write over.
So that 1 minute or rebuffering, I guess, just happened to coincide with the 1 minute of Jeffrey Epstein's suicide. Also, the roommate that was with Jeffrey Epstein, he was moved out of the cell. Still haven't had really good information on any of these things. So now Jeffrey Epstein, alone in the cell, commits suicide again. Kim.
That's suspicious, isn't it? How come that 1 minute? How come it happened during that 1 minute?
Now, Dan Bongino, when he was just the Dan Bongino on every podcast with all that following, that jihad he was on was part of a demand to get into the files of the Epstein case. Now he's number 2 at the FBI, really handling the day-to-day at the FBI. And he leads a different kind of jihad. It's a jihad against the original jihad. And he says, wow, I'm here. Looks like he really did commit suicide. And he's facing the wrath of MAGA. Bongino, along with other top Trump officials, including Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, suggesting the DOJ possessed damning materials from the Epstein case before they all got in. All of these people said there were damning materials that the FBI said. Bondi was asked, will the DOJ be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen? The Attorney General said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review. But now
we have the video of that, of her saying that.
Yeah, Bondi and Bongino are backing off. And here, oh, you have the video of her saying that?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, go ahead.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
So she didn't comment in the affirmative on that.
No.
The idea somehow that you would say it's sitting on my desk right now, I think it's a flex. There's a lot of that in this administration. There's a lot of, well, because of President Trump's fine leadership and stewardship of this nation, this Justice Department has never before seen the kind of transparency and search for justice and to bring those to justice who need be brought to justice that we're seeing now. And that's just a word salad that includes Trump and some, as I say, fealty that they have to constantly display by talking about how great Trump is. Here is Pam Bondi. Yeah, it's sitting on my desk right now. Right. Just left the loading dock. Your shipment is on its way right now. I'm watching the truck drive away right now. So here is Pam Bondi at the White House, essentially saying there is no list. Here we go.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jefferey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Yeah, so you can just take that apart a little bit. We'll start with the last part first. We mentioned the fact that they have this technology, which is sort of writing over. I would just say one thing. When you have your highest profile inmate who is the victim of a suicide, I might pull all the security tapes right away, right? I mean, if it were a responsible investigation, wouldn't that happen? You find the guy dead. It appears to be a suicide, to give you the benefit of the doubt, or at least that's going to be the story. But if it legitimately appears to be a suicide, you pull all of the tapes. I understand we rewrite, put new tapes in there. I need these for an ongoing investigation. I mean, there's going to be a lot in the way of questions about what happened with Jefferey Epstein. So you would pull that initially. And then working back in her remarks, as she talks about files, MLK, JFK, Epstein, she's now having to back and fill because the original comment about it's on my desk is just a flex that was associated well with the great work and promises that Donald Trump, our great leader, has made. We, of course, will get to all of the Jefferey Epstein information and release it to the public. Now, the opposite is true. Now, we're left, and MAGA Nation is left, to draw our own conclusions. And MAGA Nation is being no friend to all of those associated with. Dan Bongino says, we're back to locking up criminals and cleaning up America's streets. We have the greatest law enforcement professionals in the world, but politics and corrupt leadership are often preventing them from doing their job. That is no longer the case. Keep it up. Make America safe again. This is his thing. That's what he posted on social. But what he got was what they call ratioed, right? Where many more people came on board to own him, to call him out, than came to retweet or repost whatever he wrote, in this case, that which I just read you. The top reply on Bongino's post was, "You failed us." It was an impossibly long list, apparently, of replies ripping the FBI and the DOJ handling of the Epstein case. I mean, it really is clear that there was something going on, because they have a total lack of interest in doing what they said they were going to do, right? No client list, the Justice Department says. They plan to release no new documents in this matter. So this is a reneging on the promise made by President Trump, who spoke about releasing more governmental files on Jefferey Epstein. And he felt that not only was that a political winner, but that was the thing that the public wanted. Now it looks as though, I mean, again, so many demands for it, but maybe it's, as Karen says, too many important people involved with Epstein. If only there was a way to blame Biden for the, here it is, Kevin, yeah, exactly. Kevin Kraft says it's Biden's fault. Exactly. D Spirit says, Heidi Fleiss, she was the madam in Hollywood, had a list, and we were to believe that there was not a list with Epstein. Gaslighting. Again, I don't know that he was a purveyor of sex-related activities the way that Heidi Fleiss was, but he might have been, and we don't know. I mean, he really might have been. He flew a bunch of guys to his island. There were all of these different services provided. If you've watched the Epstein documentaries, I really recommend them. There's a lot of information. I don't even remember. There have been multiple documentaries. I don't remember which one is better than the other, but I do remember thinking, oh, you learn a little bit more in documented ways and in interviews with those involved with Epstein from all of them. So I recommend. But the idea somehow that this government was going to be the one that typified transparency, etc. Mark is naive. Yeah. Well, that may be true. I have a naive, girlish kind of childish might be a better word. I have a kind of a wide-eyed might be the very best way to express it. View of things. Why? Because I said that there weren't services involved. Look, if you think Jefferey Epstein needed to do the Heidi Fleiss client thing where somebody pays, I don't know, $1,000 to be with whomever, that's not what was going on. There was something far bigger going on than that. That's why I say it wasn't a Heidi Fleiss client thing. You don't know and I don't know, okay? I am only saying that it's clear that there was something bigger going on. Otherwise, explain to me why all of this information has been suppressed for so long. You have Ghislaine Maxwell. Even in the Ghislaine Maxwell, that was his girlfriend. She was the person who was grabbing all of these girls and bringing them into the orbit of Jefferey Epstein. That's Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, that's been documented. It's been documented in witness testimony, depositions. So you know that. There was more going on than just your typical Heidi Fleiss scene. There was.
I was looking up pictures yesterday of Trump and Epstein, and I found this cache of pictures of Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell. There's almost more pictures of Trump and her than there are of him and Epstein. It's crazy.
She's probably more his vintage, you know what I mean? Somebody older, you know. But the fact that he palled around with Epstein and that he, you know, was at his parties and all the rest, that's indisputable, you know. But I'm really curious as to why they're still suppressing this. There really has to be something truly explosive in all of this. So, and this is what I was saying before. Thomas Blackman says this, Elaine Maxwell's father was a spy for Israel. I mean, we think that he had ties to the Mossad. That's right. And he died in, I believe it was a boating accident. You can find this information, Kim. You can Google it. Everything I say, you should try to, you can Google it and back it up.
Google it.
100%.
Oh.
So the questions as to what happened with him are not insignificant. So Ghislaine Maxwell, she has ties to her dad, and maybe those ties extend to Mossad. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I think that starts to get on thin ice, but maybe that's really where we belong on this thing. There's a reason that all of this stuff has been suppressed for so long. So, dollars to donuts, Trump pardons Maxwell, says Tony Z. It's possible. Speaking of pardoning, I have 2 things I want to do, 3 things if I include the 3rd thing I want to do, and 4 things if I include the 4th thing I want to do, everybody. One of those things is law and disorder. The second thing is Kim's news. The third thing is an update on the merch site from Courtney. And the 4th thing is Jefferson Graham coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm trying to decide what order to do these very important things in. I feel as though law and disorder may be the best place to start, but I'm open to suggestions, and we do produce this show out loud. This is a place where you find full transparency. You know, the Trump people, they talk about full transparency, but then, of course, they don't release any of the information they say they're going to release. We talk about full transparency, and we actually are fully transparent. Now, Kim, I ask you, what should we do first?
Is Courtney in the office yet?
Courtney's here, yeah.
Then I think we should take Courtney so she doesn't have to wait around.
All right, we should take Courtney so she doesn't have to wait around. Is the view?
The Mark Thompson Show.
Courtney, do you want to put those headphones on? That way you can hear Kim and Tony if there are any questions. First of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you turn these up a little bit?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as I'm sitting here, you're like, I think we should do Law and Order.
First of all, it's called Law and
10
Disorder.
minutes.
It's not called Law and Order. All right.
I wish I listened to the show.
This is going to be the kind of conversation we have. All right. So, Courtney, I want to thank you, first of all, for your hard work on behalf of the show in getting the merch site going. Can you tell me what's the latest, where people can find it, what is it, everything, please?
Of course, of course. So we had a merch site, and then we moved to another merch site. And that site, we had some challenges. So we have finally moved to a different merch site. And we're really excited about this site. You can access everything through getmarkmerch.com. That's getmarkmerch.com. Or you can go to themarkthompsonshow.com, and it will link you to the merch site.
Yeah, the MarkThompsonShow.com.
The Mark Thompson
So when they
Show.
get to the merch site at getmarkmerch.com,
Yes.
what do they see? What is it? What have you been doing?
It
Because-
feels like an endless amount of work.
You
for
have done a lot of work. You really have done a lot of work.
Without pay.
Without pay, which is the best kind of work on this show. Yeah.
So really volunteer hours, but all in the
What do you work
spirit.
for
Nice that
Amazon?
you haven't carried a spirit of resentment about that.
You could work for Bezos at this point.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
know,
God.
I know, it's true.
No.
Yeah,
So-
it's exciting. We have
ignoring it, sir.
Okay. So
we have 40 designs.
yeah, they're pretty
in
amazing.
all different products, all new products. I mean, we have everybody's favorite t-shirt hats, but we have aprons and yoga mats and wine coolers and duffel
Look at
bags.
this. Look at the cardigans.
All this cool stuff.
Socks. I
that
love
was
the
not
socks.
available to us
I ordered
on
the
other
socks.
platforms.
I ordered
Mark
the,
did
I,
order
I
the
ordered like
socks.
$300 worth of stuff because I wanted to be able to. So I have to buy it like everybody else. I wanted to have Courtney model it, and then she says, "I'm not going to model it. You can
No.
model." So we got in a big
Nope.
fight about that. But the thing that I
Yep.
think is most inventive is what Tony's got right up right now. It's not just the name of the show. It's you've got T-shirts that are designed with some really cool kind of throwback designs.
Yeah. So you and I were chatting, and we wanted to do something that was limited edition in the launch of this new merch site. And so we were inspired based on the current social and political climate to create some shirt designs that we hope people will love and enjoy. And
Well,
actually, they've
this-
been selling really well. Yeah, without any kind of
This one's my
promotion.
favorite.
What is it? I can't see
It's
it.
TMTS, the Mark Thompson Show Project 1984.5.
Yes.
First of all, I like the font. It's kind of a throwback font.
Yeah.
And it also reminds you of 1984, the Orwell, right? That's what it's a
Yes,
reference to,
yes, that is a reference to
1984.5.
that.
So this is like George Orwell come to 2025.
Yes.
That's what that is. And it's kind of implied in the shirt without it spelling it out in a huge way. And I love that. TMTS Project 1984.5. It's there on the merch website.
Yeah, there's 2 versions of that. There are several designs that
Season of Peaceful Protest is what Tony's showing right now.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
So-
and this show's on every day, right?
All
I
right,
should
Courtney,
really.
I'm going to wrap up, but you really,
I mean, I
You
would
really
be
rocked
better
it.
to have been watching this and doing this, but yeah, it's exciting, and so we hope everybody at least visits the site, shops for what they might enjoy or friends and family. But those limited edition designs are now available. They're up on the site, and we love feedback. We love other ideas. So
we do.
please
Yeah, if
send
you have
them
any
along.
ideas for
Yeah.
anything, let us know.
You can also access the site, I believe, from YouTube. But yeah, again, I haven't visited your channel.
So
on
when you go on
YouTube,
the channel,
so-
underneath it, there are these. Yeah, very, very good. Courtney, anything else before you leave?
No,
Thank you
no,
so
no.
much.
Thank you for you for bumping law and disorder
Yeah.
and putting me up
Which-
first.
that's
Thank
right.
you, Kim, for
All right.
advocating
There you
for
go.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, we all need advocates, and Kim is yours. All right. Courtney, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you very much.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, that was quite lovely, and she is quite lovely, too. She did put a lot of work in. Will this new merch site make it possible for Michael Shore to get his mug, is the question.
What?
Over my dead body, will he get that mug? Way to go, Courtney, the Surface Spin says. So I'm excited about all things, Tony. And one of those things I'm excited about is Law and Disorder. But I think I'm going to have to do it at the end of the show. What do you think, Kim? I could do it now.
Law and Disorder?
Yeah, should I do it now or should I wait until after your news?
Let's do news and then Law and Disorder.
All right.
Yeah.
That is what we will do. Smash the like button like a boss if you would. It helps
with your
keep
iron
us
rod.
into people's feeds. It's a weird thing. There's an ebb and flow to YouTube, and we can end up with an incredibly, I'll just say, popular video or well-viewed video, and then we can end up with videos that don't get served to anybody, and as a result, we end up sort of in the cold darkness of YouTube. So we depend a lot on viewers who both support this show, but also do the things that are easy, like just hit the thumbs up and subscribe and hit the notification bell. So thanks for doing that. All right. Kim's News, Law and Disorder, and Jefferson Graham, all to follow. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. The statewide death toll linked to the flooding in Texas now stands at least 108. The search and rescue efforts continue, and President Trump is scheduled to visit that region on Friday. Trump doesn't want to discuss the Jefferey Epstein case anymore. He was questioned about a Department of Justice report that their Epstein review was finished and that they had nothing further to share with the public. Attorney General Pam Bondi said a list of Epstein clients was under review when asked about its possible release months ago. During a cabinet meeting today, Trump scolded a reporter who brought up the subject, Bondi saying her previous statement was a general answer to a question about the entire Epstein investigation, not specific to a client list.
Boy, they are running as fast as they can away from this Epstein thing. And like toilet paper attached to Trump's shoe, they cannot get it away. They cannot get it off. I mean, here it is again. Go ahead, Tony, play it again. This is Bondi in the cabinet meeting handling this question about the Epstein
First, to back
file.
up on that, in February.
Desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jefferey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And
I agree with what MoFlo is saying here. Look at how she fumbles. She's not someone confident here. She knows she's BSing. There is more BS in these cabinet meetings and responses. And this, remember, they've kicked the tough press out. They're not even asked any questions that are difficult anymore. No one has to answer a tough question. These are all softball questions, and they can't even handle those effectively. Mark, have you seen the video of the outside of Epstein's cell where there's a minute missing from the footage? The timestamp jumps. That's from Big Tuna. Yeah, and that's what she was just referring to. She was saying, well, that timestamp jumped because we're missing a minute, because that's the way the system works. It has to overwrite. And she can't even explain the BS that is supposed to explain the missing minute. To me, it's
suspicious.
I'll say this. As usual, the clunky cover-up is the thing that gives away the entire caper. You might have been able to get away with it, but you have so fumbled the explanation. You've had to fire this person, fire that person. Those are the prison people. Prison guards and prison officials have had to be fired. I'm sure they were threatened. I mean, this is serious stuff that's going on. It has to be. By the way, this is something that only marginally interested me. We did a big thing on KGO on the radio when the guy supposedly committed suicide. It's just all so clearly bogus. How can you look at their explanation and in any way conclude that they're not covering up something? None of them can speak with eloquence or detail about what happened. I mean, that Bondi thing was a fumbling mess. So to me, clearly, what I get from this is he didn't commit suicide. There's something else going on there. There are ties to very powerful individuals, many of whom are suppressing this. And we're not going to get the real information from this administration that said they were going to give us the real information and be fully transparent. So,
as you say, they seem to be running away from this Epstein case with the toilet paper on their shoe. You know who's running right toward it is Elon Musk, calling out Trump for failing to make any arrests related to the Jefferey Epstein case. The former Trump ally, now turned Trump critic, mega critic, took to X, posting, "The official Jefferey Epstein pedophile arrest counter is set now back to 0, with the caption, 'What's the time? Oh, look, it's no one has been arrested o'clock again.'" Musk's post came after multiple reports said the Justice Department and the FBI have concluded there is no evidence that Epstein blackmailed powerful figures or kept a client list. It also suggests that no one else involved in the Epstein case will be charged. The tech billionaire has previously called out Trump over this case during their public feud, implying that the president is on the Epstein files, or in the Epstein files, and that is the real reason that they have not been made public.
Oh, wow.
There it is. Yeah, it's set to 0.
I guess, according to one of our chatters, journalist Palmieri was on the Daily Beast podcast the other day with Joanna Coles. She doesn't believe Epstein committed suicide. The jail Epstein was in has a terrible reputation. She thinks a guard did it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Look, the pictures of them all together, the associations that Epstein had with powerful people, all of these things, I think, point to what has been a clunky cover-up. It's been a poor cover-up, right? There, you know, It's a little like the JFK assassination. The official story just doesn't make enough sense for doors not to be opened and other details to come in. So anyway, that's that Musk is dining out on this right now is delicious.
Depressed Canadian with $50 says until 2016, there was a healthy skepticism of the national security apparatus on the political left from Nixon to W. But after Trump, that skepticism became stigmatized on the left as a conspiracy theory. The Dems need to be more aggressive on Epstein.
Oh, interesting. Thank you, Depressed Canadian. Yeah, I mean, this is a weird way in which they can jam their foot in the door, but the Dems might be able to exploit this. I agree.
President Trump says the United States will be sending more weapons to Ukraine. He made the remarks at a White House dinner with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Comes after the administration had paused some weapons shipments to Ukraine over concerns that the U.S. military stockpile was being depleted. Trump saying yesterday the Ukrainians have been able to defend themselves and the United States will be sending primarily defensive weapons. As for the pause in the weapons shipments, Trump said the U.S. needed to make sure we have enough for ourselves. Trump also says he's going to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu again today. Speaking during a cabinet meeting, Trump said they will be talking exclusively about the war in Gaza. The State Department is investigating incidents involving someone using an AI-generated voice impersonating Secretary of State Marco Rubio to contact U.S. and foreign officials. Again, it was an AI-generated voice, they say, impersonating Secretary of State Marco Rubio. This according to multiple reports citing a diplomatic cable. The person contacted 3 foreign ministers and 2 U.S. officials in mid-June via the Signal messaging app and left voicemails for at least 2 of them. The cable also shared that the actor likely aimed to manipulate targeted individuals using AI-generated text and voice messages with the goal of gaining access to information or accounts. 10 people are under arrest for an ambush at an immigration facility south of Dallas. U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson said the attack happened on the 4th of July. Activists lit fireworks outside of a detention center in the town of Alvarado and started spray painting cars there. When the police arrived, they were shot at by someone hiding in the woods. Officers swarmed the area, arresting the suspects, who they say were working together. Additional searches found body armor and a small arsenal of weapons. The fight over immigration between California and the Trump administration heating up again. Border czar Tom Homan saying the plan is to send more agents into sanctuary cities like Los Angeles. They're also planning to step up raids at workplaces. The Justice Department is already suing Los Angeles over its sanctuary policies. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the city is putting undocumented immigrants ahead of U.S. citizens. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is speaking out about her confrontation with federal immigration agents during a recent incident. The federal agents and National Guard troops swarmed MacArthur Park on Monday while kids attended a nearby summer camp, causing anxiety for a lot of people at that park. Bass was alerted to the incident, went to the park where she was captured on video, demanding the agents leave the area. She says Monday's goal of the immigration agents was to spread fear and that she is tired of her city being the location for such outrageous un-American displays.
Well, it's 100% a show of force, an authoritative flex, an authoritarian flex, and Mayor Bass, and as you know, I'm not a fan of Mayor Bass, but she's right. This is doing nothing but disrupting downtown Los Angeles to the point that people aren't going to work, people aren't coming into restaurants, there are restaurant closures, there are high-profile closures of all sorts, there are businesses not opening, all because the disruption is too great. I mean, I consider this a targeting of Los Angeles, not for immigration reasons. They want to bring this distinguished U.S. city to its knees. They want to bring Los Angeles to its knees, and they want to do it in every way possible. They're in a power play with the powers that be, mayor and governor. And then they are in a I think, a power play of sorts in the way that they maintain a presence here. We're talking about U.S. Marines on the streets of Los Angeles in huge numbers. You're seeing these Humvees, just one after another, turning the corner. There are law enforcement officials, ICE members on horseback going through MacArthur Park. It was absurd. There wasn't anything going on in MacArthur Park, sort of people gathering there just routinely like they would on any Monday. But it is intentionally disruptive to do, I think, two things. One is to disrupt economically, as I've suggested, to make life in LA and in this part of LA so disrupted, so uncomfortable, so full of fear and anxiety that it destroys the local economy. And it's also normalizing something for the rest of the country, which is these troops on U.S. streets. It's outrageous. These troops and feds shouldn't be on the streets, and they have kicked open the door of Los Angeles, and they're showing up in such a big way so as to ruin life in a part of the city. Now, LA is a sprawling area. So as we labor to point out, this is really in a very small part of Los Angeles. But MacArthur Park is a place where there are a lot of, I'm sure, undocumented migrants generally. When I say a lot, I mean, I don't even know how many that might be. It's not a ton. There wasn't like some big festival going on. Look at the pictures. There barely is anybody in the picture. I see this as harassment. I mean, it's federal harassment, and it's horrible.
They're on horseback.
Yeah, that's my point. They're on horseback. They're with their Humvees. They're sweeping through. Look at this. This is such a show of military force for no reason. And these Marines who have enlisted and serve the country honorably, I would imagine, waiting to be dispatched to some legitimate threat, they're sent to Los Angeles to get cappuccinos on Melrose for their supervising officer. I mean, why are they here? It makes no sense. And it really is a smear on LA. And it's effing with life in Los Angeles, at least in this part, in the ways that I described. And I think that is deliberate.
Lastly, the TSA is going to end its shoe removal policy at some airport security checkpoints.
Wow.
Keep the shoes on your feet, Mark. According to multiple reports, the agency sent an internal memo to security officers about testing the new policy in soft launch at security checkpoints. Several locations where shoes will no longer need to come off include Baltimore Washington International Airport, New York's LaGuardia, LAX, Philadelphia International Airport, and Fort Lauderdale International Airport. On Monday, the TSA said it is exploring new and innovative ways to enhance the passenger experience. So,
well, I just purchased on Amazon, because they've got those deals coming up. We're going to talk to Jefferson Graham about those.
Mm-hmm.
I just purchased my transparent sneakers so that I wouldn't have to take them off. And now I don't even need to worry about that. No more shoe policy, potentially. That was one of the most annoying things, wasn't it? Because now you're walking on the floor in, I understand, either bare feet or socks on the floor that has been walked on by a jillion people, all of whom have walked in a bunch of places like men's rooms and other despicable. Yeah, I'm just telling it. It's not pretty, Kim. These are the things you have to know these things.
What?
Yeah, it's true.
I need a sanitary wipe for my feet.
Exactly, you do.
It was great. I loved it.
All right. I mean, some people aren't bothered by it, but it's I think it's pretty gross.
It's fantastic.
All right. And not everybody is on my. Thank you. Tony's got the picture up. It's gross. It really is.
What are those religious foot baths? You know, where you
oh, yeah. In the mosques. Sure.
Yeah. They need that at the airport so that you can go wash your feet afterwards.
That is a great idea.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just
why don't you start a little foot bath? It's too late, though. They're going to roll this back, apparently.
That's it. So, this report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
Oh, yes, kid.
Tis the best coffee, the best tea that you will drink. It is all organic. It is from women-owned farms. The beans sourced from women-owned farms, doing a lot of good for communities where the beans are sourced. And they're good friends of the show. I have to tell you that the tea that I served on 4th of July, I got 2 phone calls. What's that code again? It's Mark T, no spaces. Mark T will get you 10% off at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Whether you're ordering the coffee, whether you're ordering the tea, whether you're ordering the merchandise, whatever you're ordering there, you get the 10% off just for being a Mark Thompson Show listener.
Yeah, it's true. It's it's pretty terrific. We love them, and everybody seems so happy with this coffee, tea, and spices, and even merch. They have some merch there. Anything you put in your cart, you get 10% off on. So Mark T at checkout to get it all done.
Yep, I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He's waited patiently, and he's been on the road for a long time, you know. He's kind of a loner. He's a loner who's not a stoner. We do the stoning, he does the loaning. He was the longtime tech writer for USA Today. Put that in the rear view. Yep. You can't keep a good man down for long. He decided he wanted to do his own thing. He got out there on the road. Just Jeff, his cameras, his iPhones, his Androids, his drones. And now he produces great stuff and consumer tips as well. How about it? The wonderful, the wondrous, the amazing Jefferson Graham.
Hello. The
Where
wife
are
usually
you,
comes.
Jeff?
The wife
Where?
comes with me sometimes too. You know.
I don't believe that. I think that's a cover story, but I do appreciate a good cover story. So, what is
I'm in the beautiful hamlet of Long Beach, California today.
It is pretty there, isn't it?
I'm
What's
at my
going on in
friend
Long
Sean-
Beach? You're shooting something at the. Go
My
ahead.
friend Sean, I'm sitting with him and we're doing some editing.
I
So that's what we're doing.
Now, when
and
you-
we're shopping like crazy too. But go ahead.
When you, I know that was a segue to get to the Amazon stuff, but I'm not ready to let Sean go yet.
That's
So
okay.
Sean
That's
is helping you with the edit, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I
thought
think
it
he's
was.
upset.
I thought it was your show that you edit all yourself.
Sean helps. Sean is brilliant.
Okay.
And Sean makes all the magic. He takes what I do and just makes it 1,000 times better.
All right. We all need a Sean in our life. I thought Kim was my Sean, like that. I would take the primordial ooze of this show, and Kim would upgrade it. You know what I mean?
Kim, how are you?
But it
Sean-
just hasn't
Sean
worked
and
out
I-
that way.
Sean-
I blame you.
I know. I just anyway.
Sean
but
and I have been working together since 2011. He
Well-
worked with me at USA Today.
So I just need to log additional years with Kim, and maybe it'll all kick in the way it has for you and Sean. So, Jeff, you promise that you'll steer us through this Amazon. It's the sale days that go on for 4 days this year. Again, I mean, in the Bible, it was supposed to be 2 days. That's the way the Lord intended it. How did it become 4 days?
Just another thing to promote, and it's not just Amazon; it's Target and Walmart and Best Buy, and they're all countering it with the same deals. If you want to save $5 or $10, this is the place to go. Everything is $5, $10, $20 off, and it's maddening when you look there. It just looks like a whole bunch of overstocked junk that we don't care about. But if there's something that you do care about, it's possible you'll save some money. Now, I've got my AirPod Pros in my ear. They were $250, but today they're $150. That's an actual real deal.
That's
Now,
terrific. Yeah.
The question is, do you want them? Do you need them? The answer probably is no. Right?
So you're saying, and this is a really great point you're making, because I could see myself falling into this, where you just so love the deal, but you don't actually need the inventory.
Right. I saw a 55-inch TCL television at Best Buy for $199. That's about as good as I've ever seen. The last I heard, 50-inch TVs were $300 to $400. But where am I going to put it? You know?
So you're saying, just to bottom line it, most of the stuff is $5 or $10 off, and once in a while there's a really great deal.
The stuff that you don't want tends to have steeper discounts. The stuff that's heavily promoted is anything made by Amazon, is the Echo speakers, is the Fire TV stick, is stuff like that. Do you know anybody who doesn't have them now? I mean, we all, how many more do you need? So yeah, you're going to save $20 on that stuff. There is this crazy little button. There's an Ask Rufus thing on the Amazon site that asks you can ask what the pricing history has been, and whatever it is, they'll tell you now's the time to buy. So I wouldn't waste my time with it. But I would just, you can
ask for the fake pricing history.
Yeah, things I buy are cables and little camera accessories that are really not discounted. And I think Rick is on the money there. Overstock junk. If there's stuff you want, take a look. And the great news is, in 2 weeks, the price will probably be very similar.
Jim Shields says that we need to be buy all of this crap to keep the money rolling in for Jeff and Lauren. That's a lot to pay for.
Not this Jeff, but yeah.
Yeah, different Jeff, right? The Jeff Bezos.
The most famous Jeff in the world. I've had this name for a long time, and it used to be Jeff Chandler. Jeff like who? Remember the actor Jeff Chandler? But now we get Jeff Bezos. Everybody knows Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, so. Jeff Bezos. I don't know the actor Jeff Chandler. I'm sure Tony is scurrying to get us a picture of the actor Jeff Chandler.
He was good friends with Sammy Davis Jr. For whatever that's worth. Yeah. Who do you think is the most famous Jeff? If you knocked out Jeff Bezos, what other Jeff is there?
Jeff Daniels comes to mind.
Okay.
Jeff.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
There's a lot more Marks in this world.
Look at this guy. That's him, Jeff Chandler. There he is.
With Joan Crawford.
Yeah. Wow. Jeff Goldblum, very strong. Yeah.
Yes, Jeff Goldblum. Yeah. Okay. And he's a musician like me too. He plays.
Yeah, that's right. I would say maybe this is a good point. Jefferey Epstein. Jeff Bridges, Goldblum, Jefferson Davis, Goldblum, Jefferson Graham, Epstein. Yeah, Epstein, I think is a really good point. We talked a lot about Burger Chef and Jeff. Okay, everybody can play this game.
Can I see your transparent sneakers? I want to know what they look like.
I've ordered them, but they haven't arrived yet, and now I feel like it was a waste. No.
So next week you'll be able to show them to me.
Next week I'll be able to show them. So fine,
now,
Jeff.
Beyond the TSA thing with the feet, what about when you're on the plane and they say turn your phone off, as if it could actually make any difference in how a plane takes off?
Well, they don't say that anymore, but they do ask you to. There was that period when we all knew that it didn't matter, but people still, they were like Stalag sergeants walking up and down the center aisle looking for phones that were still on in any way. You're right. It was a weird thing they were doing. But having said that, they don't do that anymore, but they do say turn off your bigger electronic devices. Again, I don't know why that is, but I assume it's a safety thing. Like if you had to get up quickly, it would block your laptop would block your ability to get out the door or whatever. I try to always give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know.
What about pulling the laptop out of your backpack when you go through TSA? Why? What do I have in there? What are they seeing? What are they finding? That always
that's see. This is what you should do more of. You should do a little expose, I guess is the word I want, on this stuff that relates to tech. Why don't you do that, Jeff? Why don't you do that?
I'll have a full report for you.
Instead of going to Chinatown with all of your cameras, why don't you just do one little? I'll bet you it would supercharge your channel, which already does a lot of views. Yeah.
Okay. I'll do it for next week.
It was born. There you go. I love it. I love it. Find Jefferson. What is this? Laptops and other electronics are removed at TSA checkpoints because their dense components can obscure other items in your bag during X-ray screening. There it is. Answered for you.
From
the
AI.
Same day.
Good day, sir.
Yeah. So, well done, Tony. Well done. Find Jefferson Graham on YouTube, Photo Walks TV. Find him here on Tuesdays with a look at so much in the way of Consumer Technologies, and you can find him, again, making Cleveland so good. He shoots so beautifully. He expresses himself so well, and his friend edits it and makes it all look so good.
Okay. Superman lives. Superman is coming back. It's just as long as we're talking Cleveland. Who knew that Superman was created? Who knew that Superman was created in Cleveland? Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. And I also love that little animation with you holding your phone with a selfie stick.
Yes, you should thank my son Sam for that. My son
What?
Sam did that.
Wow, that's really good. Nice job. All right, Jeff, I could talk to you all day, but I already have. Let's talk again next week.
I'm going to go back to shopping.
All right. See you, my friend. Jefferson Graham, everyone. There it is.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Use Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I don't know, Kim. I know there's not much time, and I know many of you think I won't do it. And
We
I
should
know
do
I've
it. Do it. Do
punted,
it.
But we are going to do it.
Yeah.
We like to keep track of what's happening. This is Law and Disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care.
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat. You're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
There was an incident, Kim, in Las Vegas.
Were you there again? What have you done now?
I fortunately dodged this one. This is a lawsuit. It's stemming from a husband who was playing around on his wife with a prostitute. And so the Tony, please.
Oh, is that him? Because he looks like quite the family guy there.
Well, the details of this gentleman, I mean, he can be a family guy and still roll around with a prostitute. It's not the end of the world. And apparently she...
Not ideal.
She had an issue about this particular rolling around. And you're saying, well, she probably threw the book at her husband. She's angry. No, not at the husband. In fact, the husband died during his encounter with this $1,000 prostitute. The wife has filed a lawsuit against the hotel in which this tryst took place. The husband, 55 years old, died of a fentanyl overdose during a stay there at this hotel.
So he was rolling around with hookers and doing the blow or whatever.
Unclear where the fentanyl ended up, but I guess you may be right. It was in some kind of cocaine or cut into whatever they were doing. He has 3 children with his wife, Jennifer. He traveled from his home in Colorado to Vegas for a work conference where he met Shiley Kessie at the hotel bar. At 1 a.m. he met her. At 1 a.m. at the bar, Kim, not a lot of good stuff happens. They were seen walking around the resort's casino floor for about 40 minutes, accompanied also by her, I'm just going to use the word, pimp. Cash on Glass is his name. They headed to the cashier's cage. Jeff withdrew $1,000, and they went up to his hotel room. She was seen emerging from that hotel room just 8 minutes later. Jennifer, the wife, describes Jeff as her soulmate, her twin flame.
Wow.
She contacted the hotel several hours later for a welfare check because she had not heard back from her husband. And the hotel staff found him unresponsive, slumped on the bathroom floor.
Oh, no.
He died of a fentanyl overdose, Kim. And he'd been robbed.
As happens when you pick up a hooker at 1 a.m. in Vegas, right?
I guess you're...
Is anyone surprised? Yep.
The suit is saying, though, that the Palazzo security guard should have warned Jeff that he was being followed by this pimp while he was chatting with the pimp's person, what is that relationship? Employee? The two of them had a history of targeting hotel guests to rob and victimize them, according to the lawsuit. So apparently, those who are legal minds are weighing in on this, and they're saying that her case against the Palazzo Hotel might actually have some merit, and she may win it.
Why is she suing? Is she blaming the hotel for letting the prostitute in the door?
Yes, she is saying that the hotel should have known by the frequency with which these two make their rounds through the casino and into the hotel that they were bad news, and that the hotel has a responsibility to its guests to protect them on some level.
So it has nothing to do with his poor life choices?
Anytime you invite somebody onto your property, you have an obligation to make sure the place is safe, said one legal analyst. The kinds of dangers you have to protect against are really dangers that you know about. You have to try to prevent known dangers. And what he is saying, this legal analyst, is the hotel knows who these people are. And for that reason, this lawsuit should be honored. Tony, do you have a picture of the pimp cash on glass? That's him.
Yeah.
So, and she, the working girl, is, maybe you've already shown it, that's her. So that case continues to grind on, but many legal analysts feel that the widow suing the hotel after her soulmate husband dies during a $1,000 encounter with the prostitute, that is a lawsuit that may actually find a sympathetic jury.
I love that she still calls him her soulmate, even though he was rolling around with hookers and doing fentanyl. I mean, really? That's your soulmate?
Let me say something for those who want to roll around with hookers and do fentanyl. Kim is your chit person. I am not.
You do you, Mark. You do you.
I believe I'm not the sex police. I'm not here to say, oh, you have to be with your wife. Oh, you guys can't have a threesome with the couple next door. Oh, I mean, you can't have same-sex relationships and also have a heterosexual relationship in your marriage. I'm not here to do that. Okay. I don't care about any of that stuff. Now, when you kill somebody, you've lost me. Okay. So I'm just saying that's where I get off this train. But on the sex and who's having sex with who, I don't care about that stuff. And you know what? It's possible we don't know about the marriage either. Like she might have had her thing, he had his thing. I don't know. But Kim is like the chit. I know Kim's got her thing, and I
blame you.
Okay. A woman is found guilty of mushroom murders in Australia. They've shocked the country. Have these murders. 3 of her lunch guests died after she served a 2023 meal of beef Wellington pastries containing death cap mushrooms.
What?
That's right.
You said, oh, I didn't know that was in there.
Australian woman Erin Patterson found guilty of murdering 3 of her estranged husband's relatives by deliberately serving them poisonous mushrooms for lunch. The jury in this Supreme Court trial in Victoria State, returning a verdict after 6 days of deliberations following a 9-week trial. This gripped Australia like the OJ trial, like the Johnny Depp trial played here. She faces life in prison. She'll be sentenced later. And she sat between 2 prison officers as the whole trial went down. 3 of Patterson's 4 lunch guests, her parents-in-law, Don and Gail Patterson, and Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson, died in the hospital after this 2023 meal at her home, at which she served individual beef Wellington pastries containing death cap mushrooms. She's also found guilty of attempting to murder Ian Wilkinson, Heather's husband. He survived the meal. The jury concluded that she poisoned her guests on purpose, Kim.
Mm-hmm. People are asking why. What was her reason? Why did she hate them?
I'm guessing that there was
a beef. A beef
I'm
Wellington.
guessing that there was.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
No, it's not alcohol. I'm guessing that it was money. It has to be money. Okay, the case turned on the question of whether Patterson meticulously planned a triple murder or accidentally killed 3 people that she loved, including her children's only surviving grandparents. Her lawyer said she had no reason to do it. She had recently moved to a beautiful new home, was financially comfortable. So much for my idea about money. She had sole custody of her children and was due to begin studying for a degree in nursing and midwifery. But prosecutors say she had 2 faces, Kim. 2 faces. The woman who publicly appeared to have a good relationship with her parents-in-law, while her private feelings about them were kept hidden. A relationship with her estranged husband, Simon Patterson, who was invited to the fatal lunch but didn't go, deteriorated in the year before the deaths. That's according to the prosecution. So they looked at every moment of this lunch. What was served, what was poured, what was drunk, what was consumed, what was chewed.
You know, it's a telltale sign when the hostess doesn't eat the lunch. Somehow she's able to go on trial. What happened? If it was lunch, why didn't you eat it?
Oh.
They say that she gave everyone individual servings so she could lace the other diner's portions, but not her own, with the death cap mushrooms.
Yeah, it's
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Yeah, apparently it did. She also disposed of a food dehydrator after the death. She told investigators that she didn't own one.
Red
So,
flag.
does appear that she was she had a plan, right? She acknowledges some lies during her evidentiary hearings, including that she'd never foraged for mushrooms or owned a dehydrator. But she says that those claims that she made, those lies, were made in panic as she realized that her meal had killed people. So that's the story with that. And finally, I leave you with this. An altercation over Pokemon cards turning violent at a Bay Area store. We love the San Francisco Bay Area. Shout out to you all. And an altercation over Pokemon cards at a game store in Colma ended in a violent altercation. The arrest of 2 people. It happened at 9:22 in the morning. Gosh, it's hard to imagine anything bad happening that early in the morning, but it did, Kim.
Look at those people going crazy over those Pokemon cards.
Well, I mean, this is the new fever, Pokemon fever. A person was suffering from multiple stab wounds when the cops arrived. Also head lacerations. Victim rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries.
That's rough.
Yeah. I mean, this is a brutal world, this scrambling for Pokemon cards. And 2 arrests. One guy was 49 who was arrested. The other guy was 27. I always look at that because, by 49, you should kind of like settle down. I mean, just in terms of what you're going to pull a knife over. But apparently, they didn't have to pull a knife. One of the suspects struck the victim in the back of the head with a glass mason jar. And then the second suspect grabbed the broken shards of glass from the jar and stabbed the victim multiple times.
Jeez.
It's pretty brutal.
As Malun Tralla says, the Bay Area just went full Florida.
Ain't it true? Be careful when you're going out for those Pokemon cards. That is law and disorder.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there. The Mark Thompson Show.
We did it all. I didn't think it possible. We did get to a lot, though. We really did. Anything I need to do quickly as we are over time?
You have this from Depressed Canadian.
You should have journalist Jefferson Morley on to discuss the latest JFK files. Some genuine progress has been made, such as uncovering Oswald's relationship with the CIA case officers and was on their radar of the CIA. Those file releases are still ongoing. Well, maybe we should. Jefferson Morley. Maybe follow up on that, Kim. We'll put a note, put a pin in that, as the kids say. And we'll follow up on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking at other stuff. Anything else? Officials in Kerr County, Texas, the flooding took place, were avoiding answering questions this morning about who was in charge and when the warnings from the NWS went out. Yeah, so now everybody's covering their rear. Randy also says, are you going to talk about the ICE federal agents? I did talk about those federal agents on a horseback. Please research the 2 black books of Epstein's in existence and in public domain online, and don't let this drop. Okay, thank you, Scavop. We will put that also to the side. I'll give that to Kim to do, the 2 black books.
You notice
she's so
everything.
Into it. She loves the lurid stuff. She loves that. She just sits there and tisk. But in this case, actually, this is something to be angry about. And the guy was a sex trafficker without question. And Epstein's brother said he did not think that Epstein ended his own life. He said it didn't fit his lifelong narcissism, says Rocket Reindeer. Yeah, it doesn't track at all. And I gave you specifics about what was happening in the days that he was being detained there and how he found a way to work around the system to get out of being in that cell. I discussed that in the first half hour of the show. Yeah, I completely agree. He didn't commit suicide. But I don't believe it was suicide, said Jan. He was a liability. Too many questions are not being answered. It's true. I think that's all, isn't it?
Yeah,
Kim?
I think that we can wrap it up. And we've achieved great success on the Mark
I
Thompson
don't want to leave.
The best.
We have KFI in Los Angeles today. And I mention that because when I don't mention it, people go, how come you don't mention it you're on KFI? It's a very different show than this one, but I always love being over there, and I love the people at KFI and iHeartRadio, and that's where I found Tony, who is one of the most competent people I've ever worked with.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Been to KFI a long time.
Yeah, Tony's been there forever. He practically built that station. Somebody else recognized Tony from the Stephanie Miller show. I was having lunch with them, and they said, hey, the guy on your show, is he on the Stephanie Miller show? Oh, I said, yeah, he built her studio.
Yeah, I'm going to be there Thursday. I got to fix her headphone amp.
Yeah, there you go. So, Kim does the after party live next, and Shadow, if you would please take us out in the way you do.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Kim will do a fine job with her show. We are out of time on this show. Tomorrow, John Rothman joins. Until then, bye-bye.